What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Demon Reads Comics. Today we're going to be checking out Something is Killing the Children. I'm not going to lie, I was kind of off, like, what I mean by off, I was kind of like, not off, hesitant on really wanting to read this, because there is actually two volumes of this. There's Something is Killing the Children, Deluxe Edition, Book 1 and Book 2. But I believe Book 2 ends in, like, I want to say 35 or something like that. And the reason I was so hesitant on reading it because it goes on further. But what these first two actually do is it kind of tells you about the main characters. It tells you about where it takes place in, you know, the background of it. And I believe after like Book 2, it starts another arc of the main character and before she got to this place, right? Like before she was doing what she was doing. So it's not really a continuation. It's kind of like a prologue to this. And so I believe these two kind of finish up the, you know, Something is Killing the Children story arc fine. And if you want to continue it, there's like, you know, you can continue with Something is Killing the Children. I think I want to say like issues 35 to 40 or something like that. There's House of Slaughter, Book of Slaughter, Book of Cutter, there's a few other ones that are kind of like short stories in the universe of the House of, or the Something is Killing the Children. I think they call it Slaughterverse. I might get into that. I don't know yet. I do like this book so far. It is very interesting. The narration of it, the storytelling is, you know, it's actually very nice. So let's go ahead and talk about this book. First and foremost, there is trade paperbacks. There's single issues of this. I picked it up in the Deluxe Edition. The only difference between Deluxe Edition and Absolute Edition is, I want to say, I don't even think it's the size. I think the size is actually the same, except the Absolute Edition would come with the ribbon and with the slipcase. I didn't pick that up. It was a little bit more expensive. These were, you know, just the same exact thing, and why not, right? So Something is Killing the Children, hardcover edition, published by Boom Studio Comics. And give me 1 second. There it is. Written by James Tynion IV, illustrated by Werther, Dell'Edera. Wow, I'm sorry if I butchered that. Colors by Miguel Muerto, and lettered by World Design. Here, I'll show you guys this so you guys can get a better. There you go. And this is also, when you get big books like this, most of the time, more often than not, they are sewn binding. As you guys can see here, the eye. Beautiful eye, by the way. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Something is Killing the Children. I hope you guys been liking the new setup I have where it's actually downward. Like I said, I got this new tripod thing kind of connected to my desk where it kind of points my camera down. So let's go ahead and crack this open and let me tell you a little bit about the story. All right, guys, so here is, let's go ahead and crack this open. So where does this story take place? Well, before we go and see where it takes place, we get introduced to a few small characters, a few boys, 4 boys in particular. But we actually learn from this that something happens to 3 of these 4 boys, and one of these boys is actually one of the main characters in this story, and his name is James. They're playing Truth or Dare. They go outside into the woods, and something happens to these boys. And then they go, and then whatever happens to those boys, they end up kind of, whatever happens to those boys, one of them survives, and he gets kind of, not really sent, but he goes to like the police station and explains to them, you know, what he thought he saw. And then it cuts over to 2 weeks later of what happened. And we get introduced to this character. We don't actually know what this character's name is for a long time. Like, it was a while before I figured out her name. But she's actually with this little girl. You kind of get introduced to her. You see that she's all bloody with knives, and you're like, what the heck is going on? She's tired. She's exhausted. She's drinking water. She gets a phone call from somebody, well, we don't know, and she needs to go to, she gets a phone call from St. George. You guys eventually find out what St. George is. But she gets a new assignment that she needs to go to Archer's Peak. Archer's Peak is a small town in Wisconsin, and that's where she needs to go next. It's going to take her a few hours to get there and kind of go from there. So we get introduced to James, the main character, and we get introduced to the other character as well. This kind of takes place after the three boys have gone missing. And not only have the boys gone missing, there's been I want to say 4 other children that have gone missing that people know of, because supposedly there's been more children missing that the cops or the sheriffs in town are not kind of putting out there. And so they're kind of covering it up a little bit, but because more children are going missing, the ones that they're kind of, I guess the ones that are kind of finding the bodies of, okay, for example, like, I want to say there's a character in here, her name is Sophia. They haven't found her remains, so they can't say she's gone missing, like she's gone. These boys, they know they're gone because they found their remains, so that, they're gone already. And so people are blaming James, and everybody in the school is blaming James. Everybody in the town is blaming James, up until, like I said, people are blaming him. He gets sent to the principal's office. Up until Erica, her name is Erica Slaughter. We find that out. I'll show you where. Up until Erica Slaughter finally meets up with James, and she kind of explains that, hey, I believe you. What's going on? Tell me where this started happening. And they kind of start working together. Not only do we get introduced to James and Erica, we get introduced to another character. This is where James is kind of telling Erica what happened, what he actually saw. We get introduced to these monsters that we don't really know what kind of monsters they are, where they come from. But what we do know is only children can see them, and that monster kind of feeds off their fear because the children believe in the monsters. So that's why children can only see them. Erica can see them as well, but there's a reason she can see them. So after this is the monster I'm telling you about. It's kind of a weird monster. They're classified like A7, E, something like that, but they're actually called a screw. Give me 1 second. I had to write it down because it's a weird name. But it's something weird when it comes to those monsters that only children can see them, and not adults. But Erica and the people she works with can see them for a reason. And those actual monsters are called Ascura types. Ascura, yeah, there we go, Ascura types. So throughout this whole story, we kind of pretty much find out that Erica's a hunter of these monsters, and we figure out why she's, she pretty much hunts these monsters. Then we get introduced to this guy right here, Tommy. At first, I thought he was just another random character, because we do get introduced to a lot of random characters. Here's Tommy's mom. We get introduced to. We don't even find out her name. We get introduced to Tommy's dad. See, look, this is Tommy looking over here at the monster, but he can't see it, but that monster is there. And that's because he's an adult already, so he doesn't see and or believe in monsters, so he can kind of hear him, but he doesn't see them. And at first I thought Tommy he didn't play a big role until later on. You do find out he starts playing a bigger role in it. He works at a cafe. He's a manager there, and he meets Erica Slaughter and James, and that's when I started finding out, okay, this guy has something to do with the story. And yeah, he does have something to do with the story. So overall, that's pretty much the premise of this. We get introduced to a whole bunch of characters. More often than not, most of the characters we get introduced to don't really play a big role in this. Because we get introduced to a sheriff, we get introduced to the sheriff's brother that works at the corner. They're trying to figure out what's going on in the town, why the children are going missing. She knows why they're going. Erica Slaughter knows why they're going missing, and she finally does something to Tommy to let him see these monsters. We also get to find out what kind of, I guess you can say, like, company. She's not really working for a company, but it's like this occult slash. I don't really know what to call it. It's like this. It's called the something of St. James or St. George, and I don't know if it's like an occult or but it's like a slaughterhouse, like where they hunt these kind of animals and like help protect the world of these these monsters and animals. So yeah, we get introduced to a lot of these characters, but overall, that's the story of this. The other thing I do want to kind of point out is that Erica actually has a stuffed animal octopus, but she talks to him because not only does she talk to him, there's a reason why she talks to this octopus. There's this like monster being inside the octopus, and it actually helps her to a point figure out where these monsters are, what kind of monsters they are, and things like that. So that's pretty much the premise of this. What's weird about it is I'm already at chapter 3. There's 17 chapters in this. Actually, I think there's more. No, 17. But we don't learn. So I'm just going to kind of flip through this a little bit more because that's pretty much the premise of it. We kind of go through her fighting. She finally finds the big monster's nest, and it gets resolved. She kills that big monster, but later on she finds out that that monster had children. She had 5 kids. And she's not leaving this town anytime soon until she kills those the monsters, babies. And it pretty much, like I said, it follows the story of Erica, being held by James, the little boy, and Tommy. This right here, like, look how many pages I'm already in. I'm this many pages into it. Chapter 3, and this is where we finally find out her name is Erica Slaughter. And I don't even think that's a real name. I think that's just the name that she was given. But yeah, I'm going to start kind of flipping through it now, and you guys can kind of see the artwork. The artwork is actually very beautiful. You see her right here talking to the octopus. It's kind of weird. This is when the boy was finally like, are you talking to your octopus? Okay, that's cool. And eventually, he actually ends up talking to the octopus too. But yeah, this is pretty much a good story. Like, at first, I wasn't into it because I was like, okay, what is this crap? I'm not digging this. This is kind of dumb. In a nutshell, like, these monsters, but like the more you get, to me, it was more what drove me in was the bond that Erica builds with James and with Tommy. It starts off kind of rocky, but it builds, and that's why it kind of drew me in. There's a lot of comic books, like the last one I read, Postal Deliverance, at least. The story was kind of edgy. It kind of jumped a lot. It didn't really fill in a lot of plot points, and it didn't really fill in with a lot of like the story in itself. It just felt like kind of dull. No, this kind of fills it in all the way, and that's why I liked it a lot. That monster thing is kind of weird, but other than that, it's a good book. It really is a good book. I can't wait to actually read the next part 2. And see what happens there, but this kind of ends up on a cliffhanger anyway. That's why there is a part 2. But right here, this is there was Erica finds a girl in the cave when she was fighting that obscure type monster, and this little girl tells her that that monster had babies. So that's where we find out she can't leave this town yet because it's not over. She needs to hunt down these babies, and yeah, it's a good story. I don't want to give much more away about that. But yeah, I really liked it, and this is, like I said, this is James. Something happened to him. He's at the hospital. This is the sheriff I was talking about. Like I said, you could get introduced to a lot of characters, but overall, it's a good story. If you kind of take it slow and read it, a little bit at a time and think about it, it's a good story. But I don't know. I came into this not really knowing what to expect, and I'm still kind of rocky about the whole St. George thing. Like, this guy works at St. George. He actually brought in Erica Slaughter. You find out that he has to come in and help her undo what's going on at this place. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that whole only they can see it type of a cult place, But I get it. I understand it. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of flip through this so you guys can see the beautiful art of this. I like that they wear masks, and those masks actually do have something to do with why they wear them. As you can see, the eyes, there's a reason their eyes are like that, why Erica Slaughter's eyes are like that. There's a reason they wear masks. There's a reason they have the pets, because as you can see, or not pets, but stuffed animals. They all have the stuffed animals. As you can see here, he has his. The main guy at St. George has his little stuffed animal too. They all have a stuffed animal for a reason. And you do get told why eventually. Last I heard, they were making a TV show about this actually on Netflix, but I don't know how you know, if that's gonna happen or if it's already started. I looked it up the other day and I didn't find anything. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to give about this. It does end on a cliffhanger. I don't want to give any much more away. I kind of talked a little bit too much about the story in itself. There is a lot of twists and turns in it, but I don't want to give any spoilers away at all. So that's pretty much the end of it. Says to be continued. And then this is kind of like the monster hunting interview by, what is it, Hassan Otsmane, and originally published by Panel X, panel number 32, March 2020. I like that they do this at the end, like the sketches. I will say this. One thing that I do want to say about this, I absolutely love the story in this book so far. I absolutely love the art. But there was one thing that it kind of got to me a little bit. When James first meets Erica, he doesn't even know her name for a while. Like, he's just okay with her being there. He's just okay with her hunting these monsters. And he never asked her name when they meet up. She's like, hey, your name is James, right? Yeah. And then she just starts asking questions. And the story keeps moving forward. You never get to see when he asks her name. Eventually, he just starts calling her Erica. But when does he find out her name is Erica? That's the only thing I didn't like. But anyway, here's about the authors. James Tynion IV. Oh, also, by the way, this little boy. I heard a lot about this. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to get into the controversy about it. But supposedly James Tynion IV is actually he's homosexual. And he actually tends to put that a lot into his books. And what he ended up doing is he actually made this little boy homosexual as well. I don't know if he does that a lot in a lot of his other books. I will see, because I do have a lot of other books that I want to read from him. But as of now, yes, it is confirmed that he did this with this little boy. I don't know if he does it with other ones. I've only read this one by James Tynion IV, so I will see what happens. But that is a controversial thing that I heard about so far, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's go ahead and close this book up, and I'll tell you guys my rating of this book. And I can't give the rating of it so far of the entire book series itself because I haven't finished it. So let's go ahead and give a rating of this book. Alright guys, before I give my rating on this book, let's go ahead and cover everything else again. This is Something is Killing the Children, hardcover deluxe edition, book 1, published by Boom Studios Comics. You can see there. And it is sewn binding, not glued binding. And this one's kind of, I don't want to say it's coming apart, but the pages are a little bit weird. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can. Yeah, see here. They're kind of you guys probably won't say it, but they're kind of lifting up if you guys can see it there. Deluxe edition. Other than that, what do I think about this? I want to give this. I'm not going to give it a 10 because it wasn't perfect and it didn't draw me in to the point where I was like, oh my God, let's keep reading this. I want more. I'm going to give this an 8. I'm going to give it an 8. Yeah. Only because, like I said, the story in itself is nice. The art in it is beautiful, but there was little parts of it that kind of just didn't make sense. Like, there was a part where Erica was in the police station. She was being questioned. She was like, you got to let me go. You got to let me handle this, and that. And the police were just like, okay, go ahead then. And it was like, really? That's not what would really happen, right? I know it's a comic book, but it's like, in real life, that's not what would really happen. So there was little things like that made no sense. Like the whole part of James not even asking Erica what her name was, you know, but all of a sudden he knows her name. Like, it just, that part, I didn't like those little parts of it. It just didn't feel real to me enough to be like, oh my God, this is an amazing book. So I think I'm going to give it an 8 so far. I still have book 2 to read to see, you know, to see if it just, like, the entire series, you know, was amazing. But as of now, I'm going to give this an 8. Excuse me. So yeah, one thing I did want to say, I didn't notice it at first, until I really looked at it. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. There you go. Can you see the teeth kind of coming out a little bit here? I didn't notice it at first. I thought something was wrong with my book until I started looking at it more carefully. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to give this an 8 so far. When I finish the second book and I read both of them, I'll give that book a rating, and then I'll give the overall, book 1 and 2 rating as well. I'm giving this an 8 so far. But I do highly recommend, if you guys are, a fan of James Tynion, The Force Work, you guys haven't read this book, I highly recommend you guys read this book. Even if you guys aren't a fan of James Tynion and you guys never heard of this book, I highly recommend you read it, because taking the monster hunting aside, it really is a good book. It really is a good story, and I highly recommend people read it. So highly recommend you guys pick it up, check it out, read it, and you guys do it for yourself. If you guys haven't done so already, please leave a like, leave a comment if you guys read it. Let me know if you guys like this book series or not, or comic series or not. Let me know if you guys recommend reading the rest of the Slaughterverse, like continuing reading Something is Killing the Children, like the prologue part, the Slaughterhouse, the Book of Slaughter, the Book of Carter. Let me know if you guys think I should read those, to fill in more, or should I stop here? Also, let me know in the comments down below recommendations for other book series. I have a humongous list. I think it's actually over there, the page. But yeah, more books have been coming in, and I just kind of been stacking them up, and I have a book order on how to read them. So more books are coming. So if you guys recommend something, I'll let you guys know if it's on the list, and if not, I'll check it out. Last thing to say is, if you guys haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps put my videos out there. I know some people are seeing them already. I appreciate that. They're not really leaving any feedback, but I know people are watching it. So it really helps, build my channel, get these videos out there so people can see them and make their decision on if they want to read this book or not, or the book series or not. So that being said, we'll see you in the next one.